Welcome back. The ANC won big in the so-called Super Wednesday by-elections. The governing party took 70 of the 95 wards up for grabs, with the rest spread over various political parties. The IEC says it's satisfied with the voter turnout under the new normal.
The ANC emerged victorious at the first of its kind by-elections under COVID-19. The party managed to win it big in Gauteng, the Northern Cape and the Northwest by retaining 64 wards, losing 2 and winning 6 new wards. The DA was left licking its wounds yet again. Not only did its voter support decline to 20.77% at the 2019 elections, it lost 9 wards under federal leader John Steenhuisen. ANC head of elections Fikile Mbalula says the party's victory in these by-elections is a result of the hard work displayed by active members of the ANC.
We are determined to implement our renewal program as the movement going forward, and we will be focusing on this election in a deeper sense. What does it mean for us? We know in certain wards the voter turnout was not that good, but it's in the nature of the by-elections throughout, the contestation period. The ANC remain confident with the support of our people that it will continue to lead and rectify its mistakes.
Meanwhile, the Commission says it's encouraged by the turnout of voters in Wednesday's elections, which recorded 37.83% compared to the 38.73% in 2016. The highest turnout was recorded in Ward 4 of Port St. John's in the Eastern Cape, with over 75%.
Given the fact that these were the first elections conducted during COVID-19, that the election day was a normal working day, and given the inclement weather in many parts of the country, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, the success of these elections bodes well for the upcoming municipal elections scheduled for 2021.
The Commission also expressed concerns of disruptions of 2 voting stations in Ward 130 in Naledi, Soweto, and Ward 13 in Amahlathi in the Eastern Cape. Although they commended the swift intervention of law enforcement agencies, they have called on leaders of political parties, community structures, and various stakeholders to ensure that such incidents do not occur in the future.
The Commission calls on the South African Police Services to take decisive action against anyone whose actions impeded the holding of free and fair elections.
But if the results of these by-elections are anything to go by, then the DA may have to double its efforts in regaining the lost votes at next year's 2021 local government elections. The IEC says it is happy about the compliance of voters with COVID-19 safety measures and says it is gearing up to hold the by-elections in December and January of next year. Natasha Piri, SABC News, Johannesburg.
We now speak to IEC Chairperson Glen Mashinini about the elections. A very good evening to you, Mr. Mashinini. Thank you so much for speaking to us. As my colleague there said, that you're quite satisfied with the elections itself. What was it about the electoral process that made you feel that it was satisfactory, especially given under those conditions of COVID-19?
Thank you, Tsepiso. Evening to you and evening to all your program viewers. Indeed, we as the Electoral Commission are very much pleased about the outcomes of these by-elections, because to us they actually were the dry run of our preparations for 2021 local government elections. And we were preparing them and conducting these elections under the COVID conditions. So it was a maiden voyage for us as an institution to see how we would fare in conducting the by-elections under those circumstances and those conditions. Mm-hmm. And the response was overwhelmingly impressive, very professional on the ground, and the people also were very much at ease throughout the parts of the country that I have been visiting.
I want to find out, though, are you not concerned, even though I know this has been pretty much the average turnout? This by-election was 37.83%, but one would still say that is a low average for participatory democracy in this country.
Not in this country. And even if you were to look at it in comparative analysis, by-elections are very low in terms of the turnout. We were just a percentage below what would be our normal turnout.
So, Mr. Mashinini, what I'm saying is that I do agree that this has been the trend in the past 4 by-elections, but generally, I think that is a very low figure. If we're saying we're wanting to strengthen participatory democracy, one would look at that as a concerning number.
No, what I'm saying to you, Tsepiso, if you're talking by-elections, we are actually within the range. If you're talking local government election, interestingly, we in South Africa have been on the rise. We've been on the increase. We're now sitting around 57-point-something%, and we've come from the 40s over the years. So the trend in our country is positive. If you talk about the national and provincial election, we saw a dip in the last elections that we had. So we are very pleased, we are very proud of the achievement. But more than anything, Tsepiso, what we're saying is that we as the Commission have been able to clear the backlog from March to where we are, and the South African people, the public, overwhelmingly did come out to vote. In some parts of the country where the rains, the conditions were not conducive. And psychologically, to move around and all, I'm still on level 5, but I managed to walk into those voting stations throughout the country. I was in Mlazi, the rain was pouring, people were coming through. I moved into Mvoti, which is part of Greytown. Again, it was like a festive move. The people were out there partying, crying, and playing the music and everything. And from there, I went to Msunduzi again. It was just a wonderful, it was a festive celebration of our democracy. From Msunduzi in Maritzburg, I also went as far as to northern part of Durban, next to the Battle of Isandlwane. Once more, again, it was overwhelming. All the political parties that were contesting were out there, and the supporters were coming through. And so what one was left feeling is that we do have a vibrant democracy, and we just need to continue to say, COVID or no COVID, we as South Africans will continue to push the culture of democracy and participation in our democracy.
And I think we kind of are speaking past each other on this point, but let's move right along, Mr. Mashinini. I'd like to talk about the disruptions that you experienced, especially in Ward 130, that was in Naledi, Soweto, and 13 in Amahlati municipality in the Eastern Cape. Who or what were behind those disruptions?
I think the important part, Tsepiso, is that we still have a long road to go in terms of voter education and participation. The fact is that sometimes the concerns that people have, and linking that with the high-profile event, we then are exercising our rights, but in the process, we may be transgressing the rights of other people. So if there may be concerns, but it is not the best platform to use the elections, because the elections are a constitutionally prescribed activity. So if you are not protesting peacefully, you are at risk of transgressing. And we are urging our police and security that it is high time that the arm of the law is applied so that everybody can enjoy their right. Because as much as you have rights, you have responsibilities. Now, that responsibility is to ensure that you don't breach the law.
Okay.
And now people, when they protest, but they then threaten the IEC personnel. We, as the Electoral Commission, cannot fold our arms and sit back, because if we don't carry out those elections, then we are also in breach of the Constitution.
Final question, who garnered the most votes in the 95 wards?
Well, I've just arrived, being on the road. The details of who are the parties and the numbers and those particular details are in the report that was issued today with respect to each particular municipality.
All right, we do have the figures. So it's the ANC apparently that won 70 of the 95 wards, and the rest was shared amongst the other smaller parties. Thank you so much for taking the time for speaking to us, IEC Chairperson Glen Mashinini. That was about the recently held by-elections. And now, later on in this hour, we chat to Wits University's Professor Alex van der Heeven about the social implications of President Ramaphosa's address to the nation last night, and about how to ensure that the poor will also be able to access COVID-19.